In the last 6 to 7 months, the war in Somalia has changed goalposts. The government of Somalia seems to have changed its modus operandi. Instead of supporting AMISOM and supporting the efforts of the other agencies and other countries that have gone in Somalia to support them, to help the pacification of Somalia, the return of Somalia to the world order. The government in Mogadishu has instead initiated a move towards fighting the same governments that went to Somalia to help them. A few weeks ago, the Kenyan government asked the international community to investigate the reports that were circulating in international media with concrete evidence that money was being channeled through so many sources, including those from Qatar, Turkey, and some other countries, Norway, and so on, that were trying to kill the peace that we are trying to build in Somalia. The Somalia crisis dates back in 1991, when Ziad Barre was toppled. The Americans came and did a half job, left it in our hands for us to solve. We have tried our level best. The nationals of Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, Djibouti, Ethiopia have all perished in Somalia. They have perished in the sense to bring up a better Somalia for the people of Somalia, the best generation that will come. But these efforts are being hampered by President Mohamed Farmajo, who himself has turned on AMISOM and turned on Kenyan troops and made them enemies. The shooting down of a plane yesterday, a Kenyan plane that was carrying medical equipment, is a climax of all the activities, underground activities that have been conducted, supplied, equipped, logistically by the government of Somalia. It is sad, therefore, for a government that we went to help, where we have lost human resources, material resources, we have lost very many people in our places, injured, killed because of the fight in Somalia.
To you, and thank you so much for joining us. I apologize for that. A bit of a technical hitch there. Thank you so much, and a very good afternoon to you. This is Africa Showdown, and we are coming to you all the way from Kenya's capital here, Nairobi. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and I shall be leading us on today's show. And on the panel, I'm joined by Musa Abdi Haji from Isiolo County. Musa, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Miriam.
All right, and also from Meru County, I'm joined by Douglas Kirimi. Douglas, very good afternoon to you.
A very good afternoon, Miriam Ogutu, and also to our crew, to and quarters, and also to my friend Devan Karanja, and also my friend Musa Abdi. We are very happy as the people of Meru after a weekend of civic education, and on the BBI, we are very happy to pass it at referendum, Miriam. We are not turning back. Thank you.
All right. Very well. It's going to be a very interesting show today because we shall look at BB and the latest and what the key political figures there are saying in line with the latest development from last week, what we saw happen there. And also we're joined by Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Jevan, a very good afternoon to you.
Indeed, a very good afternoon to you, Miriam, and good afternoon to our viewers wherever they are watching this broadcast from. And also good afternoon to my friends Douglas and Musa Haji. Thanks for having me on the show this Sunday afternoon.
Okay, very well. Nice to have all of you. So before we get into our topics of the day, I'd like to bring us up to date to the latest figures in terms of COVID-19 in Kenya. The figures right now, the number of confirmed cases stands at 105,648 cases. The death toll in the country is 1,854, and recovery so far is 86,609. Uganda, the confirmed cases right now stands at 40,335 cases. The people who have since died from COVID-19 in Uganda is at 334, and recoveries right now stands at 14,616. And I'll skip the rest of the countries and go straight to the total cases in Africa this afternoon, standing at 3,038,001 cases. And the people who have since died in the continent from COVID-19 right now, the statistics stands at 101,655, and recovery so far is 2,604,110. And of course, those figures are subject to change because different countries keep updating the latest statistics there, and the global figures have surpassed 114.4 million cases worldwide. So in Africa, South Africa has kept leading in terms of the confirmed cases, also in terms of the number of people who have died, and also in terms of people who have since recovered from COVID-19. And the rest of the world, the US, is leading with the number of infections, number of deaths, and also number of confirmed cases. So that is where we are in a nutshell. Tomorrow in the morning, I shall bring us a detailed coverage and more countries there in Africa. So thank you so much for joining us. So I'll start us off. Of course, outside of the the topics that we shall look at, of course, we'll start with Kenya by looking at the news making headlines there, and then after that we'll go to Cameroon, justice for the Anglophone women, and also we'll go to Nigeria, where the insecurity continues to escalate as abduction of school-going children there also continues. And then we'll skip over to Somalia. Who is in charge? Remember, Somalia was supposed to have had its election earlier this month. That did not happen. So what's really happening there in Somalia? And Farmajo is being accused of a couple of things. So we shall see who is in charge there in Somalia. And then after that, we shall go to South Sudan, where in the course of the week, a United Nations Security Council has demanded for details of South Sudan's oil money. They want to know this money you're making, and yet you cannot support your peace process. We really want to know what's really happening with the revenue the country is earning from its oil there. So that is what we have outside of course, the topics that we shall start looking at from Kenya. So let's just start with Kenya, and we go straight, and of course, on the BBI. Sunday Nation, the main headline there, how BBI will change Kenya. And then the politics, the handshake that birthed BBI was meant to achieve inclusivity and peace. Uhuru and Raila say this is a price worth paying. So I'll just start us off there. They're saying this is a price worth paying. Jevan, do you feel the same way?
Thank you, Miriam. And let me say this: BBI, from the came from the handshake, and handshake was courtesy of election that was quite disputed, and this country was paralyzed, and a lot of things, uncertainty. We are not aware of our future as a country, and that is when, with their wisdom, President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Odinga, they shook hand to stabilize this country and to ensure that everybody is protected, and to ensure everybody as a Kenyan feels and as a part of this country. And that is why how this country cooled down, the political temperature stabilized, and we had a country to build. And to do that, Miriam, we had to chart way. We had to come up with to shun our way, and to bring a direction to get a compass of where we are heading as a country. And that is how President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister, they came up with 9-point agenda that was the point of reference to the BBI task force that came to collect views from Kenyans on how they wish or what would they like to this country to be in future, and what was this that is ailing this country, and how can it be solved to bring solution, and so that we can solve the problems that affect us all as a country. And that is how we got the BBI. And the BBI, as I usually say, is a document that is owned by Kenyans. The contents of BBI came from Kenyans. Therefore, it is a document that is made by Kenyans, for the prosperity of our country. Therefore, I agree that the BBI has a lot to offer to this country in terms of bringing this country, offering solution in the fight against corruption, solving the issue of the divisive election, and also in bringing communities together. The issue of inclusivity and shared prosperity is something that we must champion, because at the end of the day, those are the things that divide this country the most. Therefore, I agree with the headline in the Sunday Nation that BBI has a lot, and I think when you go to read what is inside the paper, you see the benefits, what the editors are saying about the BBI. But Miriam, we have seen leaders who have backgrounds of ideas trying to bring empty rhetoric in the and to bring a force that to oppose the BBI without giving us an agenda, without giving us an option on or a better option than BBI. Therefore, we have also, as Kenyans, to as President says, we need to make it to have a difference between BBI and the 2022 presidential politics, because if we mix them, we lose the taste, we lose the benefits, we lose to see the bigger picture of why we have the BBI in the first place. Therefore, it is a challenge to all Kenyans. Let's read the document. Let's get the right facts from people who have read the document, because the people calling themselves hustlers and the Tangatangas MPs, they are bringing a lot of confusion. And they're saying that BBI is about to elevate the former prime minister into presidency. BBI is not about individuals. BBI is about us as Kenyans. And if Kenyans had a way to bring Raila Odinga to the presidency, they can do that on the ballot. That is the only channel that we can use to get leaders to the state house. But BBI is not about an individual. It is about us Kenyans having solutions to what has been sickening this country.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Verol, thank you so much. Still on that headline on the Sunday Nation today, how BBI will change Kenya. The handshake that birthed BBI was meant to achieve inclusivity and peace. Uhuru and Raila says this is a price worth paying. From the content, Douglas, that we've seen in the BBI, inclusivity and peace, has it been addressed effectively?
Yes, Miriam, and thank you. Because when people tell us that the BBI process is about Raila Odinga or Uhuru Kenyatta coming back to power, I feel and I tire thinking about it. I tire trying to understand why the BBI process is about Uhuru Kenyatta. In the order of that document, even from the first one, the second one, and even the final document, there is nowhere we have seen written that it shall retain Uhuru Kenyatta as a prime minister or as a president, and all that. The propaganda that has been promoted against the BBI. The people in central Kenya and other parts of the region have been fed with the lie that the BBI process is about Raila Odinga. There is no constitutional moment that is created. Even the smartest politicians in the world, they don't create their constitutions with the people in mind. What they do with certain individuals in mind, what they do, they put clauses that they can be able to exploit later in future. If anyone fails to understand that, that is basic knowledge, and they keep lying to the poor masses, the roi poroi of this country, that this is about Raila Odinga. What we need to see and understand is that the BBI document is going to entrench some process in the constitution. We are going to change the constitution, and this document is good for the people of Kenya because it promises that 5% of government revenue. No matter which government is in power, that clause is not going to be taken out of to be struck out of the constitution until it is also brought to the people to amend it. There is no one that can use the back door to be able to take away the gains that we have been able to get through the BBI. If this document goes through, the people of Kenya shall entrench the Youth Commission in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and we shall have an opportunity as a people of this republic to be able to address our youth issues. using the Youth Commission that will be in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Before we have had interventions about the youth, but they have never been well addressed like they have been addressed right now in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And anyone that writes to the people of Kenya, the BBI is about the Raila Odinga, who is 76 years old. This constitution is a living document. It will serve Raila Odinga, who is 76 years old. It will serve Douglas Keremi, who is 28 years old. It will serve Jevan Karanja of this world. And everyone shall be using that constitution like we are using the 2010 constitution. Because today the constitution that we use today is called the most progressive constitution in the world. The constitution that was brought about by the function of Raila Odinga and also the function of President Mwai Kibaki. Do we still continue saying today that this constitution was created for Mwai Kibaki, who is a retired president, and Raila Odinga, who is the former prime minister of this republic? No. This is a constitution that was created for the people of Kenya with the input of the people of Kenya. But this document that is BBI, the changes that it promises, these are sweeping changes in administration of youth, interventions in this country, and also how we distribute our resources. Before we wanted to decentralize things from national government to county government. Now we want to entrench it further and put it in the constitution and make sure that we decentralize resources from county headquarters to ward levels, where we create a ward fund for every MCA. There is no MCA that will say that they are coercing the governor with impeachment if he's not going to give them resources to their areas. They will be given a kitty of between 5% of county revenue so that they can be able to go on and develop their wards without the patronage of a governor. This, Miriam, is what we are telling the people of Kenya. It is decentralization of resources to the people, taking resources to the grassroots. And people that want to keep money in Nairobi so that they can be administering it when they feel good, when they feel halfway about the people of Kenya, they can distribute a few water tanks around. But we want to take it to the grassroots, where people say, we want water pans, we want dams, we want everything. The people of Kimwarel, Miriam, will have an opportunity to determine their fate as a people, as a county, and even as wards, so that the people of Arol can have their own dam with their own money. People of Kimwarel will have their own dam with their own money, so that there is no corrupt bureaucrat in the name of William Ruto in the coming years that will sit down in Nairobi and say that the people of Kimwarel shall not be able to enjoy water because I want to take the money and build an hotel in Mombasa. We shall not have a President Jevan Karanja that will come in Nairobi and say that the people of Kimwalel are used to disagree with William Ruto, so the people of Eldoret will not get anything. This is going to be put in the constitution, whether Jevan writes it or not, as a president or not. And what we want is a situation where anyone that can be president, but everywhere shall be resources. We shall have resources everywhere, but anyone can be a president. These are the gains in the BBI, Miriam, and I submit by saying, this is a situation where everyone can be president, but resources can be everywhere. This is the BBI. This is what we are advocating for. We are not advocating for what we are seeing people propagating around the media.
Oh, nice. Very well. Thank you. Douglas Kirimi. Musa, what do you make of this headline by the Sunday Nation saying that the handshake that birthed the BBI was meant to achieve inclusivity and peace? First, I'd like to know, have that been addressed in the BBI? I'm sure you've gotten a chance to go through the document by now. And also, Uhuru and Raila say this is a price worth paying. And we've seen how that has turned out for them. And they've lost friends across along the way and all of that. But they've been quite determined to achieve what they say is something that will place Kenya on a better path for peace and prosperity by addressing the issues of inclusivity and peace. Has BBI captured that?
Thank you, Miriam. I think Javan and Douglas have put it in a clear perspective. But my point is, Miriam, you know, even last week I really complained and I said, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, they might have good intention for this. They might have good ambition and vision for this country. But look at the people, the so-called BBI drivers. If BBI is going not to be implemented or it's going to be downtrodden, Miriam, I will not blame Uhuru Kenyatta or former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. The document is talking about inclusivity and peaceful, inclusion and cohesion, in this country. But it is really sad what the CS for Transport, James Macharia, did yesterday, Miriam, and we should be talking about this. President Uhuru Kenyatta should be really concerned that one of his leaders, the leaders he has put in place, they are trying to downtrodden this kind of idea. You've seen the appointment he has made in Nairobi Metropolitan Services, whereby one community has been appointed to be given 3 positions, Miriam. And these are some of the things which we are starting to see might not give a good vision and a good, spotlight to the great document of BBI. And I always blame the top head might have intention. The head might have the good intention, as my President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Raila Odinga. But we have some leaders down here, Miriam, whom I think are the very impediment to the progress of this document. Secondly, Miriam, peace is something which is very important. And I'm really afraid whether they might call it George Soros, whether they might call it foreign interference, Kenya, in terms of global, regional security, Miriam, we are static. The other day, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Kenya was handed over the chairpersonship of African Union Security Council. They are now going to be in charge of that Security Council for the 1 or 2 years coming. What does this tell us?
Musa, I'm being told your audio is not very good. We're not able to get you clearly. Myself, I'm struggling to hear what you're saying. So I don't know if you're able to adjust it. Okay, if you're able to adjust it, then we can continue. I don't know the echo. What is that about?
Okay, how about now?
All right, just fix it once you've fixed it, and then you can continue with your thoughts there. As you do that, Javan, something that Musa has brought up there that has to do with the appointments, and Kenyans had a lot to say about that. What the CS Macharia did, appointment to the NMS, where it appeared all the names that were submitted came from. Not yet. Just fix it fast. Once you've been able to fix it, I think we will have you back, Abdi. So does that go against the spirit of the BPI trying to address inclusivity and all that? Should now our leadership and a lot of these public appointments be should our leadership start being sensitive to such matters?
First of all, when we appoint people to the government parastatals or government institutions, the key thing that we consider is the merit. We consider whether the person is qualified for the job, whether they are up to the task. And if Miriam, out of the people maybe who, I don't know whether it was through recruitment or it was through a vacancy, or I don't know the criteria that was used. But one thing that I see is that if merit was considered, I don't see any problem having people from same community in those positions. Miriam, look at the university. And people have been all this noise because they are Kikuyus. When you look at our universities, Miriam, the leadership that we have in Moi University, it is all, you look at most of the departments, they are led by people from the community that is dominant in Wasingishu. When you go to other places like Maseno, you'll see people and the other places. Therefore, Miriam, if the issue of tribalism only comes out when a Kikuyu is appointed into position of leadership, and I see that is a scenario, and that is what Tangatanga are trying to create. We see the people they are complaining about today, they are the majority in terms of population. Therefore, there are high chances, but they will have more positions in governments because in terms of their huge population. Miriam, let us look at the rate of unemployment. If there are people who are underemployed in this country, are there people from the same communities? Therefore, we must look at this issue from the same, from a point of I will not call it win-win as the Deputy President does, but from a point of openness and a decisiveness. Because the same people, when you come to these areas of Nyeri, the number of unemployment rate is from the same community because of their huge population. Therefore, when 1 or 2 persons get appointed, and I wish, and my hope is, CS Transport, Bwana Macharia didn't consider the tribe I wish he considered the merit, and I think that was the case, because we know and we have a country where merit should be considered, and that should be the case everywhere. Okay. We should not bring this issue of tribe when it comes to appointment. We have seen, Miriam, when people performs well in the exams, nobody talks of them as from the community where they come from. When the likes of Ruto, Rudisha, and other people who dominantly from challenging nation, when they do good in the athletics, we celebrate them as Kenyans, not as Kalenjins. Yeah. That is the spirit of BBI.
You don't think such is different, because this is appointment. This is a public appointment, so it's quite different from athletics or exams, because that is on their own merits. And I do understand what you're saying is these people are most likely, they were given this appointment, they were appointed based on merit. That is my belief. But obviously Kenyans will not see it like that. Kenyans will sit down and say, okay, throw in somebody else there.
BBI is trying to solve that problem, so that we can see Kenyans, whether you come from the Kikuyu nation, whether you come from the Kalenjin or the Kambas, we start seeing them as Kenyans, not as Kikuyus. Well. That is the essence of the BBI, so that we can see ourselves as Kenyans, not as where we come from in terms of tribe and the region or communities.
Very well, David. Very well said. Thank you. Musa, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, Miriam, sorry, I had some technical hitch here and there, but my point was, fine, we might have, Javan has spoken about the issue of the population and the issue of merit, but now BBI has brought a very important topic of building national ethos and equality, Miriam. And I'm speaking from the perspective of being one of the communities which have been marginalized for over 52 years, Miriam, since independence. I'm not speaking from the point of view of someone who has not seen this. I've lived through it. I've seen my parents suffering. And I'm not speaking for, the northern part only. I think there is a report which was released in 2016 by National Cohesion and Integration Commission, ethnic audit reports in government parastatals in Kenya of 2016. And the law requires is that the ethnic dominance of a parastatal by a particular community should not exceed 33.3%. That is according to the Parastatal Act and the Kenyan government, constitution. And when you look at that report, it is even on the National Cohesion and Integration website, Miriam, we are not looking about the issue of population here. How can you ensure the face of Kenya is replicated on whatever the government is trying to aspire? Issues of athleticism and footballism and, issues of, running here and there, that is purely talent, and you cannot, segregate talent. Whether we like it or not, the Kalenjin brothers are the ones who have been dominant in running, and there is nothing we can do about it. That is their talent by the virtue of whatever they have invested in it. But now here, Miriam, as you've said, excuse me, as you've said, this is an issue of appointment. I'm very assured that there are millions of Kenya outside there who have come from diverse backgrounds, who are qualified for that job, Miriam, a good number of them. And I believe if the CS for transport could have been so diverse and, could have thought on how he can do one or two things, with this agenda, then it could have been, a good kind of, appointment. But unfortunately, it is not only my concern. The Twitter has been frenzied since last night on such occasion, Miriam. I even thought, leave alone the bigger tribes here. I'm not speaking about the bigger tribes in this country. What if in that position, maybe a Makonde has applied, Miriam, and a Makonde is also a citizen of this country, and maybe they are qualified. Sometimes we should be going beyond the population and what they are entailed to have. We should be going beyond, diversity, showing the face of this country. That is what the Prime Minister for New Zealand the other day did. She ensured that the Maori community, everyone whom she elected to the cabinet, is the very embodiment of the face of this country. So my humble plea to President Uhuru Kenyatta is he has never been, I know it is out of his control. Such kind of, internal departmental and parastatal appointments are issues which, sometimes government executive, they overlook. But look, it is not only even in governments, as Javan has put it. Go to our counties, Miriam. Isiolo County today, 70% of the employment in the Isiolo County government are the Borana ethnic group. And what does the County Government Act say? The County Government Act of 2017 stipulates that the representation of the communities, the ethnic dominant community in that county should not exceed that 3.3%, Miriam. As we are now speaking, there are two counties which are 97% of their CECs occupants are purely ethnic. That is Kirinyaga and Nandi. Nandi, all the 12 CECs, Miriam, are purely Nandi. When you go to Kirinyaga, the same. That report clearly stipulates such kind of things. It has clearly brought out, Miriam. And this is not only the problem happening at the national level. Look at what is happening at the county level. We have counties which are the very embodiment of what BBI is preaching against ethnicity and tribalism and inequality, Miriam. Mm-hmm. What will come into your mind when you hear the word Turkana County? It will perpetually reflect in your mind that it belongs to the Turkana community. Kisii County, Meru, Samburu. These are ethnic named, administrative system, Miriam. And when you see, it means even if you are a Borana or Javan, he has qualified to apply for a job in the county government of Nandi, he will be told, are you Nandi? These are the problems we have, and
all right.
It is not only, let us not blame even President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga in this. It is happening down there in the county level, Miriam. And it is my submission, and to every respectable panel in this television, mm-hmm. that these leaders, if indeed they are really prepared, because I'm telling you, some of the leaders and the principals and the proponents of BBI, Miriam, they might be prepared physically, but they are not prepared mentally.
All
BBI
right.
will tell you, erase that word Turkana County and make it maybe Northern County or let's say something very diverse, Lodwar County, something like that, something which erases ethnicity and, ethnic naming of this administrative system. Mm-hmm. So I believe, leave alone even President Uhuru Kenyatta, let this be a challenge to Nanok, let this be a challenge to Kiraitu Murungi, let this be a challenge to, Governor James Ongwae, Miriam, so that at least we can not only all the time blame BBI on the government, we should also blame from our side, Miriam. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Musa, bringing up such a quite interesting perspective on some of these things. So Douglas, Meru County, in Afasa to try, we give it another name so that it's not tagged on a community, but we get a name that is balanced there. But also, since now we're talking about it, Douglas, disappointments and in the spirit of the BBI that President Uhuru Kenyatta, as you see here on the headline, it was meant to achieve inclusivity and peace. And we know it is the issues of inclusivity that has been a problem for this country, because a couple of communities have been feeling very marginalized. And so there has been, that is the core messaging in the BBI, to bring everybody together. So would you advise, especially these public appointments now, they start being very, very sensitive on how these things are made. And I like I said there, I'm sure these people are qualified, but Kenyans will not see it as that. So should they make a deliberate effort to ensure that, everybody feels included in some of these appointments there, as we address issues of inclusivity?
Thank you, Miriam. My heart was burning. I almost interrupted you when you were talking, because Miriam, we have a problem completely in this country, and this problem we must address it here. If it takes us a week to address it and it gets to every ear of every Kenyan, we must deal with it and deal with it decisively. Tia Galgaro was the other day was appointment was upheld by court as a commissioner the other day. We have not had the man from Isiolo telling us about Tia Galgalo's appointment in government as a commissioner. We have not had Musa tell us about Abdu Bahari, former MP for Isiolo South, whose appointment has been confirmed by the President of the Republic of Kenya, and many others. The Cast for Youth, Abdara, Miss Abdara, and many others. We have not had an issue with him when he talked when he told us these positions are filled by Kikuyus and all that. We have not heard him talk about David Osiani from Rongo constituency. We have not heard about him talk about Gideon Mungaros, who have been confirmed for the second time as curses in this world. Another thing, Miriam, and another perspective that acts my heart and also makes my heart burn is that when the other day I saw in the newspapers, last year when I saw in the newspapers that the Music Commission, the Music Copyright Commission, something like that, a commission that was calling for people to apply and also be appointed in that public body as commissioners. We never had Musa apply for that. We never had Jevan Karanja. We never had Douglas apply for the same. But if Kikuyus, 10 of them go and apply for that, and we know, Miriam, even in your private enterprise or your house today, if you run an advert today, you cannot run an advert in national dailies thrice or twice because you want to make everyone a priest. And these appointments are advertised everywhere, Miriam, before they are made public. What if 10 Kikuyus and 10 Merus went and applied for the same? It means the people that will be employed there will be 2 people, a Meru and a Kikuyu. And at the end of the day, Miriam, we have this notion that since now the president is a Kikuyu, every appointment that shall be done in government. Until I said this this afternoon, maybe my friend Jevan, maybe he knew or he didn't know that you can apply for you to become a commissioner. You can apply for you to be appointed in these public positions. Maybe Jevan didn't know. Maybe another Jevan in Meru in my village didn't know. When they see me in a position, they think I've been appointed. Miriam, I saw an organization that was looking for a youth director somewhere internationally, and I went and applied. I did apply as a Meru or a Kenyan. I applied because I was competent and I was picked, and I left when my time came to leave after 2 years. And this is the problem that we have about Kenyans. When today a commission goes online and also goes on national newspapers and advertises its position, how many people do we see go apply? How many claims do we have of people from Tana River? The other day, Rempaso Yanka is a friend to Jevan Karanja, a lawyer from Narok, applied to become a commissioner in this music copyright body. And he was appointed as a commissioner. He was not appointed because he knows someone, because he has a big family name. It is because he was appointed and went for interviews. How many people tell you when they appointed in these government offices, tell you that they go for interviews before even those public appointments are made, Miriam? I'm not dealing with Musa. I'll deal with Musa another day. I'm dealing with a Kenyan that thinks that these issues are about Kikuyus and also people that their president is in power, so these people are going to win these things. No. You have to go out there and look out for yourself. Nobody wakes up thinking about your problems, not even your government. Government thinks about power. Power is for keeping Musa and other people in the world. Power is for keeping, and power is not for distribution. You have to look out for yourself. And at the end of the day, we have a huge problem in this country, Miriam. When people go out there, if I apply for a position today, he was appointed because he comes from Central Kenya. Why would my position come up as a Central Kenya resident when I'm being appointed today? But when I was applying for that position, you people were not speaking about it. But when today I'm appointed in the office of the president as a youth director, you talk, President Kenyatta knows Douglas Kiremi. He doesn't know my name, buddy.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we need to desist from this and depart from this culture of he is appointed because the president is Kikuyu. How many people in that government does President Kenyatta know personally? President Kenyatta is a son of a former president. How many people does he know personally? And at the end of the day, how many people have evidence that the president asked for appointments to go and see this is a Kikuyu? I must entrench a Kikuyu in this commission. And when Rempaso Yanka went ahead and also moved on that conversation and said that people have to move out of their way and apply for these positions, I didn't know that people do interviews, Miriam, for these positions. Okay. I thought we go and present our names and then the president says, this looks like a Meru, this is a Meru. I appointed this boy to be a director in the office of the president.
Very well.
It does not work like that, Miriam. Okay. And that is the position that I am coming from.
All right.
Many Kenyans think that you are appointed because you are Ruo, you are Meru, you are Kikuyu. And the Kikuyus have suffered for this. Kikuyus know how to go out and look for themselves. Other communities, Ichamas, Rendile, you need to wake up and look out for yourself. Nobody who wakes up thinking about your problem. And we move on to other topics, Miriam. Thank you for my contribution.
Okay, I will decide.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Miriam.
Go ahead. But let's make it short because I want us to look at something else before we jump into the rest of the countries across Africa. Go ahead, Jevan. Was that you or Musa? Jevan, go ahead.
Okay, Miriam, I thought Musa was coming in because Douglas have made a reference to him. But let me say this, Miriam. We have seen when Munde Awori was appointed, I don't know where to represent which commission. I don't know whether it's the NSSF. People on social media claimed that he was owed and the youths deserved the position. And when we see people from other communities appointed, nobody makes noise. And Miriam, if that is the notion that we are using, that you get appointed into public office because the leader comes from your region or comes from your community, that is why the BBI maybe is expanding the executive, is bringing more parliamentary seats, is bringing more money to the devolved unit, so that maybe more Kenyans will get appointed into this position. But that should not be the case. We should look at this position, Miriam, from the perspective of Kenyan. If you qualify, Miriam, when government is giving tenders, people apply and they go through the process and everything else. But when a successful tender is given the chance to deliver goods to a government institution, you see people making the noise that we are not given a chance. But when the advertisement, when the vacancy knocked on the door, nobody was willing to open the door and take the opportunity. Therefore, as Kenyans, we must start having a culture of seeing this country as we are all Kenyans. If I'm elected, I'm appointed a Kikuyu in a government parastatal and through merit, and I deliver to ensure this country moves to the next level, I don't see any problem. If 5 Somalis are appointed to take this country to the next level, I don't see any problem, provided merit was considered and it was done through public and vetting and so on. Therefore, that should not be our problem. Our problem should be the capability.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is very good. I think that is very well said, and I agree with you. But knowing our history, knowing how we are, and our politics and how we perceive things, would it therefore be important for, especially when it comes to these public offices, for the appointing authority there to be aware of the existing, issues around such appointments? And we are too ethnicized, if I may say that, as a country. So that is a reality we cannot escape from. So as much as these people are qualified, it is on merit. So that has to come to play.
Yeah, Miriam, and it has already come to play. We have seen that was not the only appointment was done. When President Uhuru Kenyatta was reshuffling the CASs in his cabinet, we saw the likes of David Osiani being appointed into this position, and you could see the face of Kenya.
Of course. The national government appointments, especially the side of President Uhuru Kenyatta, he has made a deliberate effort to ensure that everybody feels represented. So that is not even a conversation. At the national level, I think that's okay. But down here in parastatals, in public works and jobs and things like that, I think that's where the conversation is. But what we've seen, even when they were dividing their cabinet appointments, when the DP also brought his side, and we saw the kind of people he brought, and we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta's side, he tried to make sure that Kenya's face was represented. So that is not even a question. But I'd like... Sorry, I've cut you short, but I'd like Musa to come. I don't know if he has anything to say, because I want us to move to the next item on the menu, because the DP is saying, you know what, you cannot stop me from prospering. So, some sentiments he made yesterday when he was in Nandi. So I want us to look at that quickly before we go to Cameroon. So, Musa, because you mentioned there, would you like to respond to some of the things that have been said there?
Thank you, Miriam. I think my fellow panelists have a bit gone out of the context. Remember, I've not mentioned the presidential executive agenda in this. I've mentioned the parastatal issue here in this. And whatever I speak, Miriam, is backed by evidence. I would advise my fellow panelists to go and download from National Cohesion and Integration Commission site the ethnic audit report for 2016 in government parastatals, and also the ethnic audit report for the County Government Public Service Board in the counties of 2017. These are the clear things, Miriam, playing out. And leave alone the presidential appointment, leave alone the ministerial appointments, Miriam. We are speaking of micro levels. And I will tell you, I've given Douglas a very good example. I've given him a good example of what is happening in my county government. And if indeed I'm cynical enough, to avoid whatever has been happening with our politicians, then I could not have, answered from that perspective. And you've spoken about the issue of Tia Galgado. I've never agreed with the appointment. She's a former politician. Me, I'm a progressive political analyst who believes that if you become a politician, you can never be a good leader. A politician shall be a politician according to the African context. I think Kenya should move from political political-based appointments to bureaucracy, merit-based, equality-based appointments. I will not disagree when I will see Miriam, those three brothers of ours, from who had been given Nairobi Metropolitan Service. But now the problem is, look at Nairobi Metropolitan Service, Miriam. This is a metropolitan service where the Luo communities are here, the Luya communities are here, the Somalis are here, everyone is here. And I felt like a political science student, maybe the best way to induce legitimacy of that maybe metropolitan service is by being the very embodiment of the people who are being represented in the county, Miriam. Because Nairobi is a metropolitan county, we know that. Every ilk of the community lives here. And history has proven that the appointments which are diverse and which have encompassed a lot of, communities are the ones which work best, Miriam. We know that, we cannot dispute that. And I will finish by saying, when you speak of ethnicity, I never spoke of ethnicity from my community's point of view. And these are some of the things I see, Miriam. The presidential one, he has tried his best. Even the other day, the late Yusuf Haji was the chairman of the BBI task force. That is a very clear indication and the heart the president has as far as, equality and showing the face of Kenya is concerned. But the president has no information of these internal appointments being made at the parastatal level. He has a lot of issues to do. He has a lot of things, to pass and to agree upon, like foreign policy, national security. So I feel like, these parastatal leaders who have been politically appointed are the ones who are diminishing the very embodiment of what BBI is carrying, Miriam. And you cannot blame all the time Raila Amolo Odinga, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. We blame even these governors at a ground level, Miriam. We know a lot of nepotism in African politics. You've said earlier, this is something which we cannot run away from with. That is, ethnicity is in our blood. We are trying our best. Anyway, human nature is ethnic. We know that even in European countries, there is white supremacy, there is the far right, there is far left. So these are the issues, we should tackle, Miriam. And I believe one day when BBI shall pass and be implemented, all these counties whereby, are named after ethnic communities are just erased. And these are some of the, steps. We not intend to live for us, but we intend to live as a legacy for the incoming generation, Miriam. Thank you. Thank you
so much. So let's just lay that matter to rest on the main headline there. Of the Sunday Standard, Raila must be on the ballot, Oburu said. I don't know if I want us to discuss that right now. Super 7 now plot BBI onslaught against DP Ruto. But the same story is on Sunday Nation there on the side. Ruto, you can't stop me from prospering. Deputy President says the Thursday State House meeting by 7 political party leaders was part of a larger scheme to block him from power. Bring it on, he says, noting that as they plot in the city, he has the backing of the people in the grassroots. Chavan, he's saying, you know what, bring it on. I'm ready for you. I have the people by my side.
Okay, thank you, Miriam, for that. And it's quite interesting that the deputy president is blaming unknown forces for blocking him from acceding to presidency in 2022. We have seen him going around since day one, since after he sworn in office in 2017. He started his 2022 presidential campaign. And from my observation and from what maybe a lame understanding Kenyan, an ordinary Kenyan might think, is that after campaigning for almost 4 years, you need to have a base, you need to have a ground, and you should not be worried of any unknown or darker forces that you are pretending that you are saying that they are trying to block you from ascending to State House. That should not be the case, because when you are in the ground for 4 years, you need to have consolidated a base, a voting block that is so huge that you don't need to worry. You can resign from office and go, and they support you. Therefore, if Deputy President William Ruto has the base, has the support, has the people that he says he has the people, he has the ordinary Kenyans, why is he worried to resign from the government that he's still sabotaging? Why is he worried when President Uhuru Kenyatta is selling the BBI? Why does he pretend that he loves president with one corner of his mouth and pretends he pretends to love President Uhuru Kenyatta with one corner of his mouth, but when his surrogates, when his associates start they take the podium, they start criticizing, they start talking ill of president. And today I was following an event that was happening in Igatanga, and I saw a member of parliament saying that a day has come. Now they want the union between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President to end now. Therefore, those kind of remarks, when you see them coming from the associate of the Deputy President, then you see a man who is hypocritical, a man who is not prepared to face the reality of the matter. Therefore, he is just worried, and nobody is trying to block him from ascending to State House. Let him sell his agenda. Thank you.
All right, very well. Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. We need to understand that Deputy President William Ruto saying that nobody can stop him from prospering. Deputy President William Ruto has been a deputy president for over 9 years. Why didn't we hear him say that in 2013, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and also now we can hear him talk about that in 2021. Miriam, we need to depart from this kind of hypocrisy. Oh, the president is, people are harassing me, I love the president. But when you go with over 20, 150 MPs in the same podium, in a church, destroying the name of the president, insulting him, and I have always said this, which you don't always want me to talk about, Miriam, insulting the president's mother is an insult to the president himself and also his children. Miriam, the day I'll get married and Jivan, who is my good friend, insults my wife and children, that will be the end of our friendship. But William Ruto wants to make himself a small god who can now go and tell us, as the people in central Kenya, especially in Nanyuki where Jivan lives, oh, people from Nanyuki, you know I love the president. But in the same meeting, you have told the president and his mother to go to hell. And at the end of the day, Miriam, we are talking about someone's mother. Uhuru Kenyatta asked the president of the Republic of Kenya, asked at one point, who goes insulting my mother and thinks that they are still my friends and rise to our people, that I love you? I love you from which point, which vantage point, if you can continue destroying the name of even of our former first lady, the first lady of this republic, Mama Ngina Kenyatta. This is the person, Miriam, who goes around saying that nobody can stop me from prospering, as if Uhuru Kenyatta has not been gracious enough giving you 50% of government that you gave to your community alone. This is what is hacking Musa. This is what is giving Musa all the time. People who go into government and also on their side of appointments, they appoint their kinsmen alone. There are departments in this government and parastatal where you can find 100% Karachins. When you go there as a person from another tribe, you are struck out and a Karachin is brought in. This is what gives Musa all the time. And with Musa, remember, we cannot separate these parastatos and the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta. If William Ruto appoints 50% of his people in government, when the government is given 50% to him, it is called the administration of Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, there is no separation of power in terms of these appointments. When Macharia goes ahead and appoints people from his own village, he has gone ahead and besmirched the name of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But at the end of the day, we need to deal with this issue of when our leaders come in their full regalia of hypocrisy and political conmanship and tell us that now nobody can stop me from prospering. When you are making fake promises to the people of Kenya, nobody stopped you. When you write it was the president give you 1 million to come to Harambee, nobody stopped you. Why today? If you have fallen out with your president, His Excellency Dr. Uhuru Kenyatta, it is the high time you leave government or we impeach you so that you can be speaking from one corner of your mouth. You cannot write to us that Uhuru is stopping you from prospering, then you read the motivational quotes to us as a people, then you continue now saying that you love the president. Deputy President Dr. William Ruto, you don't love Uhuru Kenyatta. What you do to the President of the Republic of Kenya, you do more harm than good. It is the high time, Dr. William Ruto, you left the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta alone so that you can form your own in the future. The man that preempted the future, continue prophesying and also looking into the future. You will prosper at your time. But at this time, it is the time for President Uhuru Kenyatta to consolidate his legacy and also expunge people like you from his government. who are continue destroying and also using his legacy when it is convenient for them. Miriam, I tired talking about William Ruto. I have exposed his hypocrisy from day one. Because Miriam, this is a deputy who has been lying even to the president himself. I love you, Uhuru, but I have 150 MPs here to insult your wife and children. I love you, Uhuru, but I have 100 people to talk about you here. I love you, Uhuru, but I want people from Central Kenya to write to people of Kenya that you are a bad president. I love you, Uhuru, but you have done nothing for the people of Central Province. Miriam, I tired talking about William Ruto.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and in the same story, the DP and his troops yesterday posed themselves as the saviors of Kenyans. They said, I'm reading from page 8 of the Daily Nation, they say they will not back any amendments which will burden Kenyans, neither will they oppose them. The team has employed the hustler versus dynasty narratives to win the support of poor Kenyans, especially the youth. DP Ruto told the groups he understands where they come from, often repeating his rags to riches tale, saying he's a hustler who rose from a chicken seller in Tarbo to what he is today. He said the BBI is not important, adding that his focus is creating more job and business opportunities so that more than 60 million Kenyans who are unable to pay taxes can be employed and economically do so. The DP also hit out at BBI proponents over power sharing agreements ahead of the 2022 general election. He said the referendum should not be about leaders sharing political and government positions at the expense of citizens who are suffering due to economic headwinds caused by coronavirus and other, problems. So, a line there at the beginning of that story that said that he said he will not be backing any amendments and also which will burden Kenyans. So he believes this BBI will burden Kenyans, but neither will he oppose. Now, if you are the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and you feel something will cause more harm to Kenyans, at the same time, you're not going to oppose this thing. So where does that leave you, or where does that leave Kenyans there? Musa.
Miriam, thank you so much. I have a question to ask here, and it's very simple, Miriam. I know our newspapers are very desperate. I know that one, Javan and Douglas would agree with me. The newspapers have been selling e-papers at 20 bob online, begging people in these COVID-19 times, exploiting here and there. And we know our all newspapers and, media houses are very political, Miriam, because it is only in politics that they can sell these papers and not turn them into a butchery, wraps. And look at the role of the media, Miriam. If Deputy President William Ruto has said that no one can stop me from prospering, can that be a headline or can that be a personal opinion? I think sometimes even these media houses are popularizing these individuals for nothing, Miriam. So simply because people are now in politics, simply because everybody is in political electioneering period, you have to use a kind of nonsense headline, just to bring about issues which are non-relevant. Why can't you bring the key details? Uhuru Kenyatta has agreed and talked with President Joe Biden when President Biden called him. Why can't you put in the headline? Now President Uhuru Kenyatta is the chairperson of the African Union Security Council. What are his ambition? What are his plans for the year coming? Those are some of the things we should be seeing the role of media, critically playing. But now our personal opinion, even Douglas Kirimi can stand in Weru TV and say, I can vie for presidency. I will not be shocked. The next morning, Douglas Kirimi will be in the headline of that Daily Nation of the Standard. We have become so busy with these newspapers. I thought, Miriam, those was personal opinion. What do you have to popularize everything Deputy President says unless you want money? That is as long as, these media houses are concerned. Number two, these politicians, Miriam, you might have differences, you might have disagreement, but reaching a level of insulting someone is something which is it has no honor, it has no humility, you don't have a grace. And Deputy President William Ruto, the question I will always ask him, if he becomes the president or a powerful leader in beyond 2022, would he allow his deputy president to do the same to him? I think he's really frustrating President Uhuru Kenyatta left, right, and center. Will he allow the same to be done to him, Javan? Will he allow the same to be done to him, Douglas? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. And it is very simple.
You can't do that, Musa.
Look at the advisors. Look at the advisors we have around this Deputy President Miriam. Why do you have to insult? Why do you have to insult a grandmother who has been the founding lady of this nation? She might, everyone has a problem, Miriam. No one is perfect. She might have done a mistake or two. But if indeed you're a man of honor and man of grace, what kind of audacity and strength and courage do you get for you to insult someone's president? I mean, someone's mom. Leave alone even her being the president's mom. Even Javan's mother or Miriam's mother being insulted. These are some of the values we are lacking in modern African politics and Kenyan politics, Miriam. The other day, I remember very well, Babu Owino said, President Uhuru Kenyatta ni mtoto wa umbwa. You remember very well, Java. These are some of the values we have. The other day, Moses Kuria was telling people, nitawapea panga mujitayarishe. And the other day, Duale was tasked in 2013. He said in a span of 30 days, I'm going to produce the list of those people who have been involved in Al-Shabaab, in Southgate and, Westgate and Garissa University attack. Up to now, Duale, he knows all of them, but he cannot mention any one of them. We are so hypocritical, Miriam, that we are not reaching anywhere as far as our politics is concerned. Mm-hmm. Now we know it's Mama Ngina Kenyatta. We know. Why do you have to go, public to insult someone? And one message I have for Deputy President William Ruto. This is not Saudi Arabia. This is not Iran, whereby one rules until they die. This is not Oman. Actually, even if they have nuclear power, Kenya is more democratic than Iran. Kenya is more democratic than Saudi Arabia. Kenya is more democratic than Bahrain. We are more democratic than a good number of Middle East countries. So Deputy President William Ruto should know. After 10 years, or even after 5 years, maybe he becomes the leader of the opposition. He shall be forgotten. Javan, he shall be forgotten, Miriam. Politics is something transitional. Americans said, we really loved Ronald Reagan in 1980s. But the media house and the leaders told the American people, no matter who he is, at the end of the day, a good dancer should know when to leave the stage. Will Deputy President William Ruto allow someone to insult his son Nick na muita chokora, or to insult him in public? Definitely, a human nature from him will not allow. So respect is a two-way traffic. He should expect the same way he purports to be respected. It should be also be coming from him. And finally, Miriam, about his 2022 political ambition, we Muslims and the people of the Northern, we say, you might plan everything, but also God has his own plan. Who knew, Miriam, today that Honorable Waititu, who was the MP for Juja, maybe has planned to rerun or to revive again in 2022? But God had another plan. Yusuf Haji maybe was planning to go for Garissa County Governor, but Mungu alikuwa na mpango yake. He never saw the end of the day. Now I'm seeing Deputy President William Ruto here. If indeed you are a man of God, you are told never judge the future, Java. Even if I'm not a Christian, that is what even Christianity teaches. Unaambiwa usipange mbele yako, panga ya leo, usipange mbele yako. It's we never know. God works in. I'm not purporting to say Deputy President William Ruto something bad might happen to him, but Miriam, we never know how this world comes.
That is true.
Maybe it reaches a point Kenya will be grappling with a lot of crisis, and we say we have postponed the election. So will Deputy President now, maybe when Kenya is in the midst of war, will Deputy President standing in public rallies saying we want election, and maybe Kenya is fighting with one of its neighbors as a war? Some things are meant to be strategic, Miriam. Right. And I felt with Dennis Itumbi, with Farouk Kibet, and some baggers around him, I thought Deputy President William Ruto should have gotten good ilk of, sharp advisors from other people, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. And that's where we end the first part of our show, where we were looking at the headlines of today's papers there, PPI, and also the issue of ethnicity has played out. And so I think we've had a good conversation around that. And I think the more we talk about some of these things, because they do matter to a lot of Kenyans, I think the better. And together we can have a more inclusive society, I believe. So now let's just turn to the other topics we have, and we go to Cameroon. where Human Rights Watch says it has gathered evidence of revenge attack nearly a year ago by Cameroonian soldiers on a village where they raped at least 20 women. The raid on Aban in the Anglophone southwest region, an area where separatists are fighting for an independent state of Ambazonia, was one of the worst atrocities carried out by Cameroon's army in recent years, the rights organization has said. It has gone largely unreported because of the stigma and fear of reprisal, which discourages survivors of sexual violence from speaking out. Human Rights Watch has added that there has been no effective investigation. And witnesses say that more than 50 soldiers entered a ban on food in the middle of the night, breaking into almost 75 houses in the village. A number of soldiers rounded up men, while others raped women, including 4 with disabilities. I don't know. It's just so disgusting to me. We know what has been happening there in Cameroon. The Anglophone part, the English, Cameroon is divided into 2, the Francophone part and the Anglophone part. And the Anglophone part has been wanting to secede now for the longest time. They call themselves Ambazonia because they feel that they're being treated as a second-class citizen there in Cameroon. And of course, they renewed, wanting for them to succeed, I think, started again in 2017, I believe, after a Cameroon government, President Paul Biya, who is the second longest-serving president in Africa. The first one is that one of Equatorial Guinea, President Obiang, and then Cameroon President Paul Biya, who I think now has been in power for about nearly, I think, 38, is it? About 38 years now. So he insisted that even the Anglophone part, they start being taught in French, and the courts there to be run in French, and the teachers and the judges there said, no, we speak English. That is our national language, this part of Cameroon. And so French, our children don't understand French, our teachers don't speak French, we speak English. And so that brought a renewed fight, and them wanting to, of course, secede. Those calls have been there since. Doctor understands this history very well. And so since then, there has been a lot of atrocities being committed to the Anglophone part by Paul Biya's government, especially the soldiers. And so the soldiers who were supposed to be protecting the people, and this is what I think really, I think it's very heartbreaking. And this the same cases that even happens in South Sudan a lot of times. The people who were supposed to be protecting the population there, the army, are the ones who are going on and committing these atrocities. And this is not just a report by the Human Rights Watch. Also, the Cameroonian government came out and actually admitted to some of these things. I don't know. So are Anglophones justified to continue claiming and wanting their own independence? I'll start with you, Javen. All right, I'll go to Douglas. I don't know if Javen is there.
Thank you, Miriam. One thing we need to understand about the people of Ambazonia is that they have suffered under the administration of Paul Biya, and what they are being forced of Paul Biya is...
Okay, we seem to be having a signal problem there from Douglas's side. Once he's able to speak, then he will come. Musa, I don't know if you understand the history.
Yeah. They have been killed, and also the of the soldiers and also the administration of Paul Biya are being killed today, Miriam. People that are being who have been killed in Ambazonia by the administration of Paul Biya are in their thousands. But at the end of the day, Miriam, what we are experiencing is an Ambazonia that wants to secede from the Francophone Cameroon, and also the annexing of Ambazonia and also putting it together to form Cameroon is wrong. And the people of Ambazonia should be given their independence. They should secede and also form their own government. Because, Miriam, we shall not have people of Ambazonia being terrorized today, and also for dictator Paul Biya to continue thinking that he can continue destroying their lives, destroying the lives of women and children and men in Cameroon, in southern Cameroon. It is wrong, Miriam. It is crimes against humanity, and I hope the administration of Paul Biden has said, according to Anthony Bilken, he has said that they are going to deal with Paul Biya and they are going to bring justice to the people of Amazonia. I am praying that the government in America today, they are going to get into the root of the matter and decisively call out Paul Biya to account for what he has done to the people of Amazonia and everything that he has done, Miriam. Because pouring blood of innocent southern Cameroonians, the Amazonians as they call themselves, it is wrong, Miriam. If these people want to secede, it is the high time the Francophone Cameroon, Red Go Southern Cameroon, to go and have their own independence, Miriam. Because if they have their own independence, if they can be able to coexist with the Francophone Cameroon without necessarily being forced into the way of life of where Paul Biya wants to take these people, they can exist as Southern Cameroon, as the people of Amazonia, with their own independence as an independent country, Miriam. Because at this point, we are losing so many people there. As a Pan-African, all I'm saying is, we need the help of the world. We need to raise the alarm over the Amazonian people, like Dr. Masanga has been doing for in recent years. And for so many years, that these people are suffering under the hands of a rogue regime, under the hands of Paul Biya in Francophone Cameroon. These people, Miriam, should be given their clear mandate to rule themselves. They need to secede. And also the people of the world, led by Joe Biden, the president of the free world, he needs to come out very clearly on this. The UK needs to come out, the European Union, everyone needs to come out and also impose more sanctions on Cameroon. We saw that with the Department of State in the USA. They gave out sanctions against the members of the family of Paul Biya and top administration officials in Cameroon, and also on Paul Biya himself. They need to be compelled to let the people of southern Cameroon, the Amazonians, go, because, Miriam, these people have suffered. It is their time as the people of Africa recognize the sovereignty of the people of Amazonia and let them go, because, Miriam, at this point, Paul Biya has done all the atrocities that he can be able to do on these people. He has continued killing them, undermining them, stifling their voices, and also people that have alternative voices rather than that of Paul Biya. It is not the only voice of Paul Biya for over 38 years now that should be given permission to permit and grow in Cameroon, whether it's Francophone or Anglophone Cameroon, because, Miriam, these people have suffered, and it is their time all the world powers get together and grant the people of southern Cameroon their sovereignty, as they also look into the issue of Western Sahara, Miriam. These are people who have suffered. They need to secede. The end of Cameroon, as you know, it is very near, and the people of southern Cameroon should be given the power to secede from Francophone Cameroon, Miriam. And this is my submission.
All right, Veral. So we know, is it in 2019 there, the Martial Court in Cameroon, they had made some judgments, very wee hours of the morning, and I think 11 leadership of the Anglophone was taken. The Amazonian leaders were given life sentence there. I think their lawyers have since appealed, and I don't know what has happened to that case. We don't hear of it so much, but the leadership there. And so just before that, after that, the government of President Paul Biya called out to have a national, he called it a national dialogue, but this was a dialogue that Paul Biya was just having with himself, because the leadership of the Anglophone, though it was a dialogue that was meant to solve the problem between the government of Paul Biya and the Anglophones there, but the leadership, the people's representative in the Anglophone, from the Anglophone, who had already been given a life sentence, so they were not really represented. And so President Paul Biya came with a couple of issues he thought was important and was addressed, but that was just a formality, because he said certain issues were not going to be discussed, which has been a bone of contention and the reason why Anglophones wants to secede. So that national dialogue, which I think was a lot of nonsense, because it never solved anything since 2019 until today. There's not been a lot of progress that has been made there to try to find a lasting solution between the conflicts. We've seen hospitals being burnt down, we've seen schools being burnt down, and children from the Anglophone region has not been able to go to school now for about 5 years, I think, going. And so that is a serious crisis there, and human rights abuse that have been going on in that part of Cameroon, and they still continue agitating for their need to be independent. Of course, President Paul Biya has not been very keen on that, but raping women and using it as a weapon of war And from this report, we see even the disabled were raped by the army of Cameroon. You know, when I walk around and I see a security official, I see a police officer, I see an army, I feel safe, because to me, they represent safety. They represent my security, and I feel I'm good. And these are the same people who perpetrate some of these, vicious acts. I'm just lost for words there, Musa.
Thank you, Miriam. First of all, this is a very serious issue coming out from Cameroon, Miriam. Cameroon is facing a very big problem of linguistic discrimination. Linguistic discrimination, Miriam, is the use of, lingual and accent vocabulary, the luxure of a person in intimidating them from joining or getting opportunities in the society. And I will blame this directly, not even on President Paul Biya here, Miriam. I will blame on the neo-colonial powers. There is a bigger war between the France and United Kingdom there. Let us not hide this. This is a very neo-colonial embodiment happening in that country. And what happened in 2017, there was a report which was released, Miriam, which said that the constitution amendment was to be done that there shall be a bilingual nation, of which the draft was turned down. And when President Paul Biya appointed the cabinet, out of the 36 ministers of the Cameroonian nation, only one is from the Anglophone. So one of the critical guardians from this kind of issues, Miriam, is there is a linguistic discrimination. If you speak English, if you tend to be Anglophone, you are no longer needed in Cameroon. And France is really trying all its level best under the two presidents. Sarkozy even was there. The other guy, and now with this Emmanuel Macron, they are doing their best to assert their colonial influence there. And look at some of the political parties. The Southern, The Southern Cameroon National Council, the Southern Cameroon, the SCNC, and the Southern Cameroon People's Organization, the SCAPO, Miriam. These are two organizations which have been fighting for inclusion. And what I suggest here, the very nemesis Dr. Matsanga the other day talked about, how neocolonialism is deeply, deeply rooted in our continent, Miriam. We cannot run away from it. We need to confront it. Look at what is happening in Togo. The same is happening in Togo. When you go to the western part, it is Francophone. When you go to the eastern part, it is Anglophone. And that is what has also been happening in Ghana, Miriam. That is what also has been happening in Cote d'Ivoire. These are, lingo issues, very lingo issues really disturbing us. And now politics is coming around. This is my prediction. The politics now coming around is that Rwanda the other day certified Kiswahili to be used as a national language, official language. South Africa is approving. Now the neo-colonial powers of France are seeing there is an advancement of an African language by Africans themselves. So the only way they can assert the influence is using Paul Biya, of which it will be very futile. It will be in vain, Miriam, because what we are seeing is that with time, you will be even shocked. Kiswahili might come. The only solution I can suggest to these people, maybe they can adopt Kiswahili as a neutral language whereby it can be understood by this, Bantu country from both sides, Miriam, because the other one is United Kingdom asserting their influence. The other one is France, Emmanuel Macron. So I believe these, linguistic discrimination should come to an end. President Paul Biya, there is nothing he can do. Anglophone countries down there is really huge. The best he can do is to reconciliate, to push for a plan of national healing. He brings a very neutral language like Kiswahili, which is known to everyone, which can solve such kind of crisis, Miriam.
All right. But if you the issues that are there in Cameroon, I think they are way beyond just the language. They're way beyond just English or French or whatever it is they speak there. So it's a lot of marginalization. It's a lot of things that has happened since 1961. I don't want to go back into the history when they were brought together, because one part was under British rule, the other one was under France rule, and then it's a lot. So I can't go into the history of that, but it just goes beyond just English and French there. Douglas.
Yeah, Miriam, I'm back.
Oh, yeah, Javen, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's quite unfortunate that a country in Africa in the modern times is having a difference between the linguistic and the Anglophones and the Francophone speaking. And it's quite unfortunate that the president of Cameroon has allowed himself to be used by France as a tool of intimidation towards those people who speak the English. And what the people of Amazonia want today, what they need is a freedom, is their independence to exercise their freedom, their association, the right of association, assembly, and to do their things without the interference of the government of the day, without the interference of the army, and without the interference of those people who speak the France. Therefore, you know, Miriam, when you marginalize these people, they are denied basic facilities, development, government services, government appointments. These people have been intimidated. They have been discriminated for years, and they're crying out loud that they need to be given their own freedom to associate, to have their own independence, to run their affairs without the interference. That is a cry of the Anglophone speaking in Cameroon. Because, Miriam, we understand, we had the issue of assimilation that worked very well in Nigeria. Nigeria was colonized by two masters, but there was the issue of assimilation. But in Cameroon, assimilation will not come. The Anglophones will not assimilate the people speaking the French or the government of the day, because they are the tools of intimidation. Miriam, I cannot assimilate you if you intimidate me. I assimilate if you behave well, if you treat me well. And I'm persuaded that if I follow your religion, if I follow what you do, maybe I can do even better. But when you intimidate me, it is difficult then to persuade me to follow your ways. That is what the government of the day is doing. Therefore, as a solution, I think the best option that we have is to give the people of Anglophone speaking region, the southern part of Cameroon, the freedom or to have their own nation. When they will shut their own, they have to figure out and to come with a roadmap, a direction on where they want to go as a people. Because the government of the day, the Cameroon government, will not accommodate them, will not treat them well. Let them be given freedom to do their things well. And Musa has given a solution about maybe of having a new language that will cut across. That is good, Miriam. But at the end of the day, will the hearts of the people who speak Anglophone heals when their master, when the people intimidate them, when the army is still in their region?
When the mothers and sisters are being raped with the national army like that. There are things that it's just beyond.
When the government of the day is not remorseful, is not seeking for forgiveness. You know, some of these deeds that they did, they are hard, it's difficult to pardon them. And the best option we have is to separate the two countries, let everyone have their own nation and have their freedom so that they can figure out their problems and issues within. Because it seems the government of Cameroon has used the intimidation, and they have one plea that they are making, that all the political detainees to be released. Miriam, we cannot go for a negotiation table when you still hold my people in prison unlawfully. That is not good. Let the freedom, the politicians from the Anglophone speaking communities who are in custody to be set free, so that maybe we can see the government is heading to a direction. But when the army is still raping and doing all these manner of things, when lives is being lost, these things will not come to an end. And it's high time that they are given a freedom. That will still remain my suggestion in matters Cameroon. Thank you.
Very well. And just to remind us, the children from the Anglophone region of Cameroon there has not been going to school for nearly 5 years now. And you expect these children to compete in the same level as the other side of, we are creating more problems even into the future there. President Paul Biya, you have to address these things and address them very quickly. All right, because of time, let's just get into our next story, and we're heading to Nigeria with also a very disturbing news coming from Nigeria every other day. Douglas Utaya talking about Deputy President William Ruto. Itaya talking about the insecurity of Nigeria and the leadership there of Nigeria Nigeria led by President Muhammadu Buhari, who has failed in his mandate to ensure that the people of Nigeria are safe, the properties of the people of Nigeria is safe, the boundaries of Nigeria is safe. So I tire, but we shall continue talking because that's why we're here, and we are Pan-African television station, and we have a mandate to do so. So police in Nigeria have launched a search and rescue operation for 317 girls kidnapped. This is not the kidnapping, Douglas, we were talking about the other day, I think, when we were having the Diaspora Dispatches show. This is a new kidnapping that happened. 317 girls have been kidnapped from the state of Zamfara, and the operation comes as 42 people kidnapped from another boarding school in a similar incident last week in Niger State were released. Now, the kidnappings are carried out for ransom and are common in the north side of Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari condemned the latest kidnapping as inhumane and totally unacceptable. What I think is inhumane and totally unacceptable is for you to still be the president of the Republic of the federal state of Nigeria. Douglas, just help me out here.
Miriam, I told you, if a kid is today snatched in the streets of Nairobi, a small kid in the streets of Nairobi, and this is not those that disappear and go to their relatives, a street kid, and it goes to national television, before 9 p.m. at night we shall hear from the Inspector General of Police, before tomorrow morning we shall hear from President Uhuru Kenyatta himself, and before evening we shall hear from God, if it happens in Kenya. Miriam, those things cannot happen even on our porous border with Somalia, where Falmajo keeps sending 3 officers to come and intimidate our forces. Those things cannot happen in present day Kenya, Miriam. Those things are things that occurs. Today, Miriam, if someone goes and says that they are being harassed in the embassy of Kenya in Nigeria, they are being harassed by Nigerian forces, by tomorrow afternoon, we shall hear from the office of the president. The spokesperson would have given us the position of what is happening. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs would have compared. The minister actually will not be compared by the people to go and speak. They would have made a statement and told Kenyans what is happening. We have seen these things happening in Kenya, Miriam. And I've said before, if Kenyans today, a terrorist group goes ahead and goes to abduct school-going children in Kenya or women, that by tomorrow afternoon we shall hear from a presidential readiness. In Nigeria, we are only told by a media, Mr. Andesina, we are told what the president has said. We have never seen Buhari in Kaduna. We have never seen Buhari in northern Nigeria condemning those things and saying that the Fulani huntsmen who are going on with all these abductions and all that should stop. I agree with the people in Nigeria that kidnappings and the torture and also all the things that are happening in Nigeria are state-sponsored, are sponsored by Muhammadu Buhari and his cronies so that they can keep making money. Who are these Fulani huntsmen in Nigeria who are abducting school-going children? The future of Nigeria is at stake. The president of Nigeria is in shambles. The past of Nigeria is destroyed. The country is going down to the dogs. President Muhammadu Buhari continues staying at Aso Rock for I don't know until when, Miriam, when we stop talking about Nigeria and concentrate with other African countries like Western Sahara and other countries who want to fight for their own sovereignty. Miriam, because I tire understanding which president today continues allowing huntsmen to go and protect the rights of huntsmen and says that huntsmen should go and graze in their eternal grazing paths and all that. The world has moved on. If today an industrialist can be able to build and fence their own industry, even those people that are keeping animals in Nigeria should buy ranches and protect the animals from going to people's farms in Nigeria, Miriam. Today, we are having leaders in Nigeria who are calling the governor of Zamfara State and telling him, Your Excellency, we are sorry, school children have been abducted. Call the governor of Meru and tell him that school children have been abducted. You are praying for him. We shall sack him tomorrow by evening. In Kenya, those things cannot happen, Miriam, and I don't understand. Even those people who are bad, the people that I keep claiming that are bad in this Africa, there are people that are accused of being bad presidents, like the president of Chad, who has been a president before he was even born. But he said that Boko Haram shall not wreak havoc in his country, and Chad shall not go into the Committee of Nations as an embarrassment. He went on and put on the military regalia and fought. General Muhammadu Buhari is an embarrassment to the army, to defense forces in Nigeria, and also to African presidents who are also in charge of their countries. Because Miriam, people in Nigeria, you cannot let your child go to a school bus or go to school in peace because you'll be abducted by Fulani men. What is this issue about Muhammadu Buhari being told now the old man should complete his term and go home? Go home where? He needs to resign or be impeached by National Assembly and the Senate in Nigeria so the people of Nigeria can have a competent president that can handle their issues. The security in Nigeria is not only a threat to the people of Nigeria, it is a threat to our neighbors, the Chad, the Mali, and also African in general. As Pan-Africans, we are not safe. If we go to Nigeria, chances of being abducted by Fulani huntsmen in the central city of Abuja or Lagos is very rampant, because in the northern part where the president comes, it is not tenable for you to go and walk there even as a terrorist, as a tourist. Remember, Miriam, I said there was a small security lapse in the president's village here in Kenya. Before 3-4 weeks, the Minister for Interior was there, and we don't hear those things even in national or even local stations, because that problem was solved once and for all. And there was more pickpockets who are moving around in the evening, abducting wallets in the pockets of people. It is not even abducting people. Miriam, what we are experiencing in Nigeria is a total embarrassment to the presidency in Nigeria. Muhammadu Buhari himself, a former general who is intimidated by Fulani men because they are his kinsmen. This is an enterprise that the Buhari and his people are benefiting from, and we need to dismantle the cartel at Asorok from every corner of the world. Because Muhammadu Buhari himself, I have never seen Muhammadu Buhari in recent time condemning the abduction of school-going children. Even in Ramu, when we had the problems of Al-Shabaab, we have never had school children being abducted, Miriam. Schools in northern Nigeria don't let the children go to school in peace. Teachers have spoken, parents have spoken, and children cannot go to school in peace, Miriam. I hope those things don't happen in Kenya, because the president of Kenya maybe will resign in 2 weeks' time, because in Nigeria it is a total embarrassment talking about the insecurity in Nigeria and also what is happening there, Miriam. We are calling for the president of Nigeria to be impeached. We can no longer speak to him directly, because I hope he has listened to what the people of goodwill are saying in the world. People in Nigeria are suffering. He has brought Nigeria an embarrassment that will take years to be correct, and also, Miriam, for the people in Nigeria and children to continue going to school. Muhammadu Buhari must go. For people in Nigeria to have peace and progress and a better tomorrow, Muhammadu Buhari must go, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. And, the previous president in Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, was it in 2019? He did not have very kind words to President Buhari. And he said since President Buhari became president in Nigeria, Nigeria is slowly turning into a banana republic in terms of the security, because insecurity there has really gone to levels. And since President Buhari and Obasanjo don't really get along, and both of them were generals before. So what I really don't understand is this part of Nigeria, the northern part, has been very synonymous with insecurity from a number of years now. And we know Boko Haram is not only a problem in Nigeria, but it has become a serious security challenge in the Sahel region there. And we know it has come from Nigeria, and I think in the leadership of President Buhari, he has enabled Boko Haram to really thrive beyond what was expected. Because when he was campaigning for his first term, President Buhari said within 100 days of his leadership, he'll be able to get rid of Boko Haram. And that was so many years ago. He went and did his first term, came again, he was elected, which I really don't understand. He was not able to deal with Boko Haram within 100 days, and still Nigerians voted for him there. That is something that I really don't get. And since years now, it has been a problem in the northern part of Nigeria. How is it that a whole 317 girls, nobody knows where they are? How is it that week after week we see these abductions now? And the other day, I think I was reading here a news item where children were just playing somewhere in the field, and 17 of them were bombed through a grenade and lost their lives. I just don't understand. And how the rest of Nigeria is just sitting as if they have nothing to do. That should call for an outrage. from the whole country. So I just don't understand the disconnect between that part of Nigeria and the rest of Nigeria, and why the rest of Nigeria feel as if this is not their problem, because I will be worried. I don't care where I live in Nigeria, but this is happening in my country. That will really worry me and will should call for an outrage. But my main question to you, Musa, is why hasn't our President Buhari made an attempt to beef up security in the northern part of the country that has been synonymous with these activities?
Thank you, Miriam. Just to respond to your question is that Nigeria is a country which is bordered by unstable nations, unstable states. And they say when your neighbors are not at peace, you are also not at peace. On the northern side of Nigeria, we have Mali. On the other northern side of the Nigeria, we have Niger. We have Chad on the eastern side, and on the eastern side a bit, they are peaceful. That is, I think, Benin, which is bordering, Nigerian on the west. The question is, Miriam, with these countries I've mentioned, there have been a spillover effect of the Arab Spring. There have been a spillover effect of insurgency. You remember, after they were evicted from Middle East, the Islamic State of the Syria and the Levant, ISIS and the ISIL, you can call it in the two ways, they decided to focus in Africa. They decided to establish their alternative headquarters in Africa after they were chased away from Middle East, Miriam. They started in the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Now they are a bit they have a huge presence there. You can't speak of ISIS and you forgot to mention Libya, Miriam. And Libya is all over spilled with, ammunition, smuggling, human trafficking. And we should also be alerted by the case of human trafficking. The other day, over 36 people are drowning in the Mediterranean day in, day out, Miriam. With this flock of the people who are yearning to look for a greener future in Europe, the cases for human trafficking is very high, Miriam. And apart from human trafficking, which is done now from, as far as Cameroon, they go through Niger, sometimes they go through Niger, they go through Nigeria, they go through Mali, Mauritania, Libya. There is an established corridor for human trafficking in this region. And so when there is a human trafficking, so as it applies also to arms smuggling. When you are seeing a lot of arms smuggling coming into Nigeria, Miriam, it is as a result of ISIS in Libya, ISIS which is in the Mali, ISIS which is in the Senegalese desert, Miriam, and a part of Burkina Faso. And so we are seeing a lot of interplay of these rebel groups which have now backed Boko Haram, which is also a very notorious neighbor group in the region. Boko Haram has been able to take advantage of the presence of, ISIS and ISIL in the areas of Libya, now to get ammunition and arms smuggling very easily through the border, which is on the northern side of the bordering the Fulani community, Miriam. And this poses a very great question. Remember, the NATO invasion of Libya in 2011, Miriam, was to have a humanitarian aid, but it ended up even for toppling of the regime, which ended Muammar Gaddafi's regime. But what Americans and the NATO allies never put into question, they never planned for the scenario development of these ISIS eviction and this Muammar Gaddafi eviction. Remember when Muammar Gaddafi was toppled, he really employed a good number of his soldiers and army people, the Tuaregs, Miriam. The Tuaregs who are coming from, the southern part of the Senegal, the Mali there. And when all things fall apart, they decided to, remain chaotic, stateless, and sort of the stuff. So a good number of mercenaries joined ISIS and a good number of mercenaries joined Boko Haram. It's a driving business. The kidnapping of these girls is all about ransom war. It's all about the war of negotiations, Miriam. And a bit I will also blame Nigeria's nature of the politics, Miriam. You remember the Biafra War of 1956, whereby the Yoruba and the Igbo countries, the Igbos really wanted to secede, under the state of Biafra, and things were not good for them. Since then, it has been the same occasioning happening to them. They believed that up to now, they've never had an Igbo president coming from Nigeria, and yet They are one of the most populous and, highly densely populated in Nigeria. So all this inequality issue is now preempting the very justification for this Boko Haram militia group. Many people are joining this militia group not as a means of, justifying a religion. They are mainly joining this Boko Haram group as a means of, justifying some political messages here and there, Miriam. And look at a country like Chad, which is not at peace. They have never been at peace with Nigeria. So with all these, even to make it a bit higher, international community and actors are also there. You remember the Senegal the other day, the France presence in Senegal is still very high. France is really battling to eradicate ISIS and Al-Qaeda. I forgot to mention Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is also having a very huge presence in Niger, Mali, and Mauritania, Miriam. So with all these international actors of terror groups, international actors of neo-colonial powers in the name of France and Britain, so we have a lot of confusion happening in the area. So Nigeria has been left grappling one of its very vital minerals resources, that is oil fields, are being now overtaken by the very people of Boko Haram. So all this has been an interplay of, instability emanating from neighboring states into Nigeria. And now Nigeria, with all its inequality, corruption, and, poverty, is now even spilling over, making this, Boko Haram more of a legitimate group. And yet it is just a terror group, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much for that insight, Jeven.
Okay, thank you, Miriam. And we have quite really touched on this issue of the state of insecurity in Nigeria. But it cannot go without saying that the problem, for me, I think the leadership of the day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we seem to be having a signal problem there from Jeven's end. But 2 weeks ago, lawmakers from Zamfara State suggested offering amnesty to repentant kidnappers in exchange for sustainable economic opportunities. It is a controversial strategy, but one that yielded some positive results in Niger Delta, and which saw a reduction in crime after a similar amnesty program in 2009. The government so far says it will not negotiate with criminals. In the meantime, schools in rural northern Nigeria are more vulnerable than they've ever been before. Jeven, sorry, you were talking and then your signal had a problem. Conclude for us.
Yeah, I'm back, and I'm saying the soul and the core of all this problem is the leadership of the day, because the President Buhari has allowed himself to be in the center stage of all these happenings and the insecurity, and he is known to empower, and it is known, it is not a secret that the security agencies in Nigeria, they are the most corrupt. That is why they end up killing civilians. That is why they're used by the state to intimidate the people that the government feels is not in support of their agenda. Therefore, to eradicate all this problem and to have an amicable solution to the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, they must change the leadership. Buhari must go so that the people of Nigeria, they can have a leader who is development conscious, who is intellectually conscious in terms of development and in terms of a stable country. That is the only way out for this mess. Also, the issue of ethnic superiority. This thing must be dealt with. I know it's an issue of the farmers and the nomadic pastoralists in the issue, but the government must bring a solution on this. They must bring an issue on how they will settle on the farmers having their equal share and the nomadic pastoralists having to do their business without interfering with the farming communities. That is something else that they must look into to ensure that these two communities that are antagonizing each other, they come and settle and they have a country to build. The issue of ethnic is a problem not only in Nigeria, but across the country. And they must come up with an issue to ensure that all communities, at least they have a face of their country, a representation that cuts across all the community. By doing that, the issue of ethnic superiority will be solved. But the issue of corruption, they must deal with, because that is the root cause of all the evils that we see in the society. The politicians who are corrupt, who end up giving bribes to people to cause mayhem in Nigeria, they must be dealt with. Therefore, the people of Nigeria, they deserve the best. They deserve a country that is harmonious, a country that they will celebrate. And that will come when Muhammadu Buhari leaves office and they elect a leader and they ensure that they have a mechanism to ensure they have good leaders in office who will be there to speak on their behalf. Leaders will fight the Boko Haram. How can the government of the day be silent when Boko Haram are abducting school-going kids? What is the issue? Why is Buhari not speaking about these issues? He needs to come out clearly and condemn and ensure that the security agencies deals with these groups amicably and they bring a solution, a permanent healing into the people of Nigeria. The insecurity in Nigeria is something that will continue unfolding, and they must sit as a country to bring a solution and amicable solution on the table. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Karanja. And even as they seek to find amicable solution, which I don't think President Buhari that is what he's actually doing right now, because otherwise we would have seen a reduction of this. Instead, we've seen an increase. And some of these solutions that are being suggested, I've been reading about so many of them. I've seen the Senate there, have debates on how they should deal with these issues. And now some of them are suggesting that the kidnappers should be given in exchange sustainable economic opportunities. There was a debate last year in the Nigerian Senate where some senators, especially from that region, they were saying that these repentant Boko Haram should now be given a scholarship for them to go study abroad. So they're actually making these activities very, very economical, high value there, because if that is how I get to go to study in London, then I will want to go engage there in this criminal activities. So I don't know if this is the kind of solution. Maybe this should be a conversation we should have tomorrow. Some of the suggested ways on dealing with these activities. Are they lasting? I think this is a conversation we shall have tomorrow on diaspora dispatches. Yes, Douglas.
I have something to say in a minute.
Yes.
In Kenya, we are not saying there are completely no cases of terrorists and also people who do bad things in the society, or in Uganda, or in any other African country. But when did we see Rust President Uhuru Kenyatta patrolling a terrorist and also giving them an opportunity? Today, the indigenous people of Biafra, IBOP, have been termed by the government in 2017, government of Nigeria, the federal government of Nigeria, as a terrorist group. But they have never been violent or killed anyone. But the Fulani Huntsmen, who have killed thousands of people and abducted a lot of people, have not been termed as terrorists. But where did we see these tendencies that we see in Nigeria? This is the corrupt cabal, and the end of the cabal is in Asorok, General Muhammadu Buhari himself. Why do we see these things in Nigeria only? This abductor should now be integrated in the army and given an opportunity and be given a scholarship to go to school. These things only happen in Nigeria. All these corrupt things that we see and all this corruption, this financial gain, he has been allocating money to rehabilitate these people. But has he been able to fight these corrupt people? Has he been able to kill terrorism completely from Nigeria and strike it out? Has he been able to deal with the Fulani Huntsmen completely? We need to stop this hypocrisy of massaging the ego of President Muhammadu Buhari that these things are working. They are not working, they are working for him, because when he allocates money to this, he steals this money with his northerners, so that when now these things, southerners will now continue sending condolences to governors who are protected by the state, and governors who has nothing to do with the school-going children and their poor people in Nigeria. The people in Nigeria should tell their president to quit government and stop pretending. Buhari is not the only best thing that happened to Nigeria after sliced bread, Miriam.
Okay, yes. IPOB was proscribed in 2017. That is the indigenous people of Biafra. That group led by Nnamdi Kanu was proscribed in 2017 as a terrorist group. All right. I think that is a conversation we should have tomorrow. Why are you even negotiating with criminals? I mean, we should start from there. Thank you so much, Musa Abdi Haji from Isiolo. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi from Meron. Thank you so much, Evan Karanja. This has been Africa Showdown. My name is Miriam Ogoto. Let's meet here tomorrow at 9 a.m. East African time. The latest news from across the continent. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.